All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our last chance to ask questions for first year admission. It is our at AMA, Ask Me Anything, Ask Us Anything you have about the application, about the USC Viterbi School of Engineering, whatever that's going to be. I am one of the panelists that will be here today, and I'll let the rest of our panelists introduce themselves shortly here. My name is Paul Ledesma. I'm the Executive Director of Undergraduate Admission. It's a pleasure to see so many great and excited applicants here with us today, and we're excited to answer your questions. Angie, you want to take it from there?
Sure. My name is Angie Solares, Senior Assistant Director. Thanks for being here, and Happy New Year to everybody who is here with us in 2023.
Awesome. And hi, everyone. My name is Stacey Badger. I'm the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admission for Viterbi. Happy to have you all here today.
Hi, guys. Thank you for joining. My name is Lisa Rosas. I'm the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admission, and thank you for being here.
Okay, so here's how today's going to work. We're not going to give any presentation. We're not going to talk about anything. All we're going to do is answer your questions. And the way you're going to do that is at the bottom of your Zoom window, you see a little Q&A button. It looks like someone has already jumped in there. What you want to do is go to that Q&A and start typing out your questions. And we're going to ask as many questions, we're going to answer as many questions as we possibly can, but we're going to do that based on your upvoting. And so you all, if you're asking questions, go ahead and type them in there. If you're not asking questions, go in there and look at the ones that you want answered and hit that thumbs up button. And for us, what we're going to see is those questions are going to be reordered to the top based on how many upvotes they have. So you all as an audience are in control of the types of content, the types of questions we're going to answer today. We have about an hour, and we're going to get through as many as we possibly can. I'm going to try to remind you over and over again to go back in there and upvote things, especially you want to upvote things above other stuff that may have already been answered, because sometimes when you all jump in with your questions, you might be repeating something that someone else has already answered. We'll do our best to skip through those, but we do want to get in there as best we possibly can. So let's jump right in. And it looks like the very first question that has a lot of upvotes right away is from Fong Ho. And thank you for that question. You're our winner tonight, Fong. You don't win anything of substance, but you do win our hearts and our minds for winning the first question for tonight. Fong is asking, does USC conduct interviews? Angie, does USC conduct interviews?
No.
It's an easy answer, right?
Yeah, it is. I think most of you are here because you're applying for regular decision, but on the off chance that you applied for our scholarship process and you are chosen as a scholarship finalist, there will be an interview process, but there is no interview process for the admission cycle or the regular decision cycle.
Yeah, nothing you all need to worry about, nothing to sign up for, nothing at all to get in there. The application process is strictly the common application plus the USC questions, and that needs to be submitted by January 15th in order to be considered for first year admission. That is the final application deadline. There is no way to extend it beyond that. Next one, Michael. Michael, thank you for your question. Stacey, you're going to go after this one. How can I best answer the engineering grand challenge supplemental question? For a little bit of background, if you all haven't dove into our application, there are lots of different questions on the application related to the Common App and also the USC questions. And as an engineering applicant, we have two additional questions that we also want to consider. One of them is related to how you might contribute to the student body in your own words. And the other thing is about our grand challenges.
Yeah, so the best way to answer that question, it's going to sound really simple, but it's honestly, you want to answer the question really based on when you do your research. We have that link in there for you to look at what those 14 grand challenges are, and you're going to pick something that you think is the most important. There's no right or wrong answer. It does not have to be based on what your major is that you're applying to. It literally is, hey, take a look at these and we want to get to know you and your thoughts on these. And so it really honestly is the best way to go with it. I always say the more you try to finesse the system, it's going to make your writing kind of funky and not honest and authentic. So respond in the way that actually makes sense to you and the things that you actually believe that are really your real authentic thoughts and opinions in there too. And again, there's no wrong answer. It's just what you're thinking.
Yeah. And to add on to that, and I think Stacey gave a great answer, is really, more often than not, when people are asking this question, they are overthinking it. And they often sometimes are worried about, which of these is best for the major that I'm applying to. And that's not what we're asking. You may be applying to computer science, but you think that out of the grand challenges, the most important thing is reducing nuclear threats, like just because it is, and that's something that's important to you, or another one related to improving personalized learning, whatever sounds cool to you. It's just, if it appeals to you, if it sounds interesting to you, the question is, which of these is the most important to you and why? That's the simplest of questions. Look at it. What sounds interesting? We're just trying to get your perspective. We're not trying to get you to answer we're not trying to solve the problem. A lot of people are working on solving that problem. We just want to understand more about you and your thought process and help us get to know you a little bit better. That's it. Don't overthink it. Enjoy that. Okay. Next up, Davis Clark. Thanks, Davis, for this question. For the unique contribution essay, are we allowed to discuss things that are not related to engineering that we can contribute to the community? Who wants to take that?
I can take that one. Yeah, so it's almost similar to what we've just been discussing. You can talk about things that are authentic to you, what your interests are, your passions are. So it doesn't have to be all about engineering. All of your responses don't have to be about engineering. Just talk about what you're passionate about and your most authentic voice.
Yeah, and what's funny is, we worded that question with a lot. We kind of give you ideas, like you may want to talk about athletics or involvement, or we give you like this list of things. And I think that might be throwing some of you thinking like, I got to pick one of these ways to talk about myself. And this is just much more about you. And to give you a little more background on this question is, ultimately, that's the goal of our entire process. Is we're trying to understand how you might contribute to our student body. And after years of doing this, we finally figured out, why don't we just ask them what they think? And I'm sure we're picking up on some of these things through your application, but what is something maybe we might be missing that we don't understand, that you believe your best unique contribution is going to be? And when we say unique, sometimes, again, I think engineering students overthink this and think like, I need to come up with the one thing that no one else is going to come up with. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's what we're looking for. We're just trying to understand what you believe your unique contribution is, what your individual contribution is going to be to our student community. And that may be the same thing as a bunch of other students. That's totally fine. It's not that we're trying to find the only people with unique contributions. Like, I'm ambidextrous. That's what we're looking for. We're just trying to understand more about you. So once again, as we've said over and over in this, don't overthink it. We do have a blog post on our website that goes into a little more depth on this. So if you go to viterbiadmission.usc.edu and go through our blog post, look at Angie on the ball, dropping it. You were ready with that, Angie.
I was thinking, as we were answering both of these questions, I was thinking about it, and I was like, just in case someone missed everything we just said, here's the link to what we just said.
Thank you. Thank you. So Angie dropped that link into the chat so you all can see that. All right, next up, whoever wants to take this open question from August. Dear August, what are you looking for in the short questions? The theme song, the TV shows? Is it okay if the answers are something you've never heard of? I think Stacey wants to take this one. I can see it in her eyes.
Sure, yes. So we call these short answers, we call them like quick takes. So they're short little questions. And again, if you've been in the application, which I really hope you have, considering it's due very soon, you can see these short answer questions that are in there. And the point of those, more than anything, I should say, what we're looking for, obviously, when I'm reading applications, I'm looking for you to have the same answers that I have, because that is determined whether or not you'll be admitted, is if you and I have the same preferences on things. Obviously, that's not true. It really is just trying to get to know you better. It breaks up the application, both for you and for us as the reader as well. It's totally fine if we don't know what you're talking about in the application. If you pick a character as your roommate that I don't know, that's okay. Again, it's just trying to get to know the things that you're interested in. And again, kind of having fun with the application. There's a lot of seriousness when it comes to this time of year, and sometimes it's nice to show your personality in a way that doesn't feel quite so big all the time. So it definitely is okay to put these short answers in there. It's okay if it's Hermione as your roommate. It's okay if you watch The Office, like all of these things, or it's okay if we've never heard of it.
I think you're showing off your preferences here, Stacey. I think it's you.
Maybe those are kind of basic, but it's also okay to have different music tastes and different things too. Maybe you'll show us new music that we didn't know.
Yeah, and how dare you, August? How do you think that you think we don't know what something is? I mean, we're hip, cool. We're hip and cool, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time on TikTok. We know what's happening. I'm just kidding.
That's not kidding. Angie does spend a lot of time on TikTok.
That is true. That is true. And Joel, for credit, Joel Corona asked the same exact question. And so we just did answer that question. And I think you're going to hear this a lot from us. When you're looking and you're approaching your application, the best advice we can give you is do not overthink this. The questions are very straightforward. we're not looking for anything. When anyone when anyone gets caught up in our application, it's usually because you're applying some sort of thought process to this and strategy to this that you think there is a right answer to it, like it's a test. And oftentimes the triggering question in this, if you're going through this and you start asking yourself, what are they looking for here? Then you're doing it wrong. If you're trying to understand what we're looking for, you're doing it totally wrong, because the only thing we're looking to understand about you is who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And so the key word I want you to remember is authentic voice, or authenticity. And we've said this a few times already. Don't overthink it and be authentic. That's all we want to know. We want to understand who you are, what you do, why you think the way you think, what your thoughts are. We're trying to get to know you because we don't know you. And so that's what helps us as we go along the thing. And I will say, if you are listing something on your quick takes that is totally obscure and you're confident we don't know what it is and you want to give us a little explanation, go for it. But a question we often get sometimes is, do I have to explain why something is my favorite snack? No, you don't. And it's just put something down, whatever sounds good to you. That's great to us. It may inspire us to eat that snack as we're reading your application. So, please let us know. Now, this is your first reminder. I'll do this every 15 minutes or so to go back into the list of questions that are being asked right now and upvote, because I think we're losing some votes right now. And it looks like they're all kind of stagnant around the same vote count. So please scroll through there, find ones that have been buried at the bottom and upvote them as much as you possibly can. There's a lot of you here. We want to make sure that we get these questions, the most important ones, risen to the top so we can make sure and answer that question before we get all the way through today's session. And it looks like we have changed our order already with that. So that is great. But it looks like you upvoted the same question that we just asked. So describe yourself in 3 words, which is one of the quick takes we just talked about. I've gotten advice to try to be either humorous, unpredictable, or smart with my answer. Is this factual, or I can just describe myself in 3 normal words?
Just use 3 normal words. I think when students try too hard to be humorous and unpredictable or smart, it actually comes across as the opposite. So whoever's giving you this advice maybe should reflect on what they're saying a little more, but it could just be normal. You could just say fun, cool, smart. Those are normal.
Only
words.
if you are fun, cool, and smart,
Yeah.
though. That's the first rule of fun, cool, and smart.
Yeah. Just be authentic. We're going to say that too many times today, but be authentic.
And I know that sometimes authentic is a challenging thing to think about. What does that mean? What is my true self? Don't overthink it. But what I really want you to think about is, what are the first things that come to your mind about how you would describe yourself? And let us know that. I will guarantee you all this. What you write there will not create an admission decision. Like, that is not going to dictate what's going to happen with your admission decision. Don't overthink it. Use that opportunity to express your voice. That's what we're trying to do. Okay. David, and it's a longer name that I'm not getting the whole thing, but David and possibly John, once you are in Viterbi, how easy is it to change majors within the school? For example, if you are admitted into a less popular engineering major, try to swap into a popular one. Is there a chance you'll be on a wait list? Is there tedious requirements that need to be met before swapping? Who wants to take a stab at this one?
I mean, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's actually a couple questions that you have here all in one. Yes, switching majors is one part, but I also want to be clear too that all of our majors are equally as competitive to apply to. So no matter what you're applying to, whether it's computer science, whether it's civil engineering, biomedical, any of these majors that we have in all of our majors, it's going to be equally as competitive to apply to. So start in the major that you actually find to be the most interesting and where you want to start taking classes. So that's sort of the first part on there, because nothing is impacted in our programs when you're applying, and nothing's impacted, equally as competitive. So keep that in mind. So if you are admitted to, let's just say you are admitted to computer science, right? And you're like, I'm a computer scientist right now. That's where your thoughts are. You start taking classes and you say, actually, I wish I had done electrical engineering, but I just didn't know about that before, or I wasn't sure about it before. So now I want to switch to electrical and computer engineering. Super simple process. And it's literally talking to your academic advisor and saying, hey, I want to switch to this instead. And they say, okay, here's how you do that. And then they're going to make you a new course plan and get you going in that way. If you come in as electrical computer engineering and go, actually, I don't know what I was thinking. I've been an environmental engineer my whole life. This is what I want to do. same thing. So within the internal pieces within Viterbi, switching to a different engineering major is very, very simple. But don't try to strategize. Again, as we've talked about, the more you're strategizing on your application, the more likely things are going to get too complicated. So apply to where you actually want to start taking classes, because that's the best place to start, where you actually want.
Dead on. Anybody else want to add anything to that? I think we're good. You know, there are no tedious requirements, but it sounds like a really judgy question. As if there were, they would be tedious. But no, once you're in the Viterbi school, we want to help you be successful in the Viterbi school. But as Stacey mentioned, do not try to strategize our admission process. Not any easier to get into one major versus another. They're all hard. They're all competitive, and they're all, how dare you? They're all popular. Get some faculty on here and fight it out to find out who has the best or more popular major. All right, so Fong, whoa, Fong's becoming a superstar. This is the second question from Fong. Oh, way to go, Fong. You're winning more hearts and minds here. Do only USC Viterbi admission officers take a look at our applications, or do regular admissions officers do as well? I'm certain that was the tone he wrote it in. So because I'm assuming he likes us better, but
yeah, it's a collaborative process. So where multiple people are looking at your application at once, both from the Viterbi school and your main admission counselor from your high school. And what we do is we make recommendations, like we in the Viterbi school, we make recommendations to our colleagues in the central office of admission, and they make final decisions. So we don't make any admission decisions. Any kind of decision comes out of the central office, but we are collaborating with them and making recommendations.
yeah, I think that this is to clarify and to help shed a little bit of light on this. I know that this is different than probably every other school that you're applying to. And oftentimes people will think that there's this like very structured flow chart or filter that needs to happen, and that some people look at an application and then it gets approved to move on to the next level, and it kind of keeps filtering down. That's not how it works here. Our process, for lack of a better term, is really fluid. At any point, you know, we can jump in and look at an application that could be ahead of the university admission officers. That could be at the same time. Sometimes they can look at one and send it over to us. We can look at one and send it back over to them. It's a live, all electronic, process where it's a big database, when we're jumping in and looking at people across the board, but multiple people, multiple points of view. That's the most important part. Okay, Joel. Well, look at Joel and Fong are fighting it out. Joel Corona's got question 2 here, but Fong coming in with question 3 right behind it. So you all get to control who gets the questions answered. So go ahead and don't forget to upvote and start typing in your own questions if you haven't done so. Joel is asking, does an applicant's level of demonstrated interest impact their admission? I'll just jump in right away. We do not practice demonstrated interest. We're not looking for you to kiss our butts. Please don't do so. And oftentimes, I know other schools look for demonstrated interest. We don't. We're not keeping score of activity. We're not keeping score whether you attended today. Although whoever gets the most votes here probably might get better chances. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. There's no demonstrated interest. There's no games we're playing. We just want to know that we just want to know who you are, and we consider that if you've applied, to me personally, that's you demonstrating interest that you've applied to the school. So we're assuming you want to come here because you applied here. If you don't, you shouldn't apply. Mm-hmm. Fong, here we go. We did that. No, that was question 2. Oh my God, I just didn't clear it. So he doesn't have question 3. Now they're tied. As an update for the leaderboard, we've got Joel and Fong tied with 2 questions apiece. Let's see if anybody else can catch up. Adi is asking, how early can you start doing research at Viterbi?
I know this one. Sorry, guys, I'm new, so that's why I'm a little quiet. I've only been here for like 2 months.
You're doing great.
Thank you. So you can do research as early as, or in your undergrad, as early as your first year. You can do it your freshman year. There's a couple different ways you can do it. We have faculty members that are conducting research. You can reach out to them, see if they have any opportunities. We also have our Curve Center, which is the Center for Undergraduate Research for Viterbi students. It's a formal application process. You can submit your application, but you can do that within your undergraduate year as early as your freshman year.
Awesome. Way to go. Next question, Tiffany Lim. I've heard about VCC, Viterbi Career Connections, and how they help you post-grad, but I was wondering how students are supported during their time at USC. Well, Tiffany, I don't think you've heard enough because you got it wrong. They're not there to help you post-grad. They're here to help you during the time here, because our job is to get you out of here and get you a job. once you're out of here, you get out on your own. I mean, we actually do help alumni in some regards, but our focus is working on students and undergraduates, and you get to work with them as early as your first year, engaging with those career advisors, getting your resume critiqued, doing mock interviews, going to the different career related events. We have networking events, we have career fairs, we have a bunch of online sessions as well. We want you to engage with those recruiters, and the Viterbi Career Connections is a full-time staff working with the employers and recruiters at those types of companies, hundreds and hundreds of companies every single semester that are coming to visit and recruit you as undergraduates for internships, co-ops, and full-time positions after graduation. So Tiffany, so close, but you just got it flipped around. They are there for you during your time at USC. Reza is asking, what are the unique opportunities given by the engineering school in terms of locations, partnerships, or research? Don't really understand this question. Do you guys understand this question?
Not really. But if I had to guess,
Go ahead, go for it.
I think it's saying, what are the, like, what opportunities can you do within engineering that can bring you? Like, what are the types of partnerships or research things that we can do on campus, locations, all of this stuff, like locations as in maybe getting different types of jobs in different places where students work.
Okay.
That's sort of the general. I would say for that, that's a huge loaded question of like a lot of different questions in one.
Yeah. Reza, you know what I'm going to do? Reza, think about it. Why don't you rephrase your question and throw it in there? And if any of y'all see it, upvote it again. We'll look for it and try to find it, because I don't really understand what this question's about. But unique opportunities by the engineering school, let's try to handle that. I'll be the first to tell you, there aren't a lot of unique opportunities, because most of the things, if you're looking at a top engineering school, a top university, they're kind of the same, right? That you're getting a great accredited degree program. Something that is unique is that we have all of these things in one spot, right? It's a small program, about 400 students in each of our incoming classes, 400 students across 10 engineering disciplines. This is a really small program, all classes taught by faculty, the opportunity to do research starting as early as your first year. And that's over $213 million in our annual research expenditures, which is nearly $1 million per tenure track faculty, which is one of the highest dollar amounts of research being conducted by faculty of almost any engineering school in the world. In terms of location, we're in LA. I mean, how awesome is that as far as a location goes? And the opportunity to work with these different type of companies, when we talked about it before in Viterbi Career Connections, that's hundreds of different employers. They are worldwide. And I think that a common misnomer is that you go to school in the location that you want to work, and that is just not the case, because the employers that are coming to recruit here are recruiting for all of those big companies all across the country, right? So for example, when they're coming from Google, if you're going to go work at Google, you might be working in the Bay Area, although Google is everywhere. If you're going to work for Microsoft, that's obviously going to be up in Redmond, Washington. And if you're going to work for Amazon, you're going to be in Seattle. If you're going to work at Tesla, you're probably going to be working either here or in Austin. If you're going to be working at SpaceX, you're going to be working here. If you're going to be working at Boeing, you might be working here in the LA area, but also probably Tacoma, Washington, or possibly Huntsville, Alabama, because they have facilities there. So everything is everywhere. Partnerships are everywhere. There's way too many to get involved in, and the opportunities to do research are huge. So Riza, I think I might have answered your question. I hope so. But if we didn't, go ahead and drop another one in. Mauricio, what makes Viterbi Plus so special when compared to taking on extracurriculars or minor studies at any other university? For example, extra elective hours provided or just some opportunities. So I think Mauricio is really just asking what is, I think, Engineering Plus, and can anyone explain what Engineering Plus here is and how that works?
Sure. I mean, Engineering Plus, it's not like a program or anything. So it's sort of how we describe our students. And we love math here, right? Because engineers. So it's like the first half, it's like engineering plus the things you also like to do outside of engineering. So it's similar if you're at another school even too, and you wanted to add on a dance minor and all those other things, you can try to do that. But for us, we want to make sure that our students have a lot of opportunities in that way to be able to take lots of things and different types of classes at USC. We encourage the different types of learning. We encourage students to take these opportunities, take advantage of the opportunities. I always talk about for our students at USC, basically, Viterbi is, we have our small class sizes and we try to keep everything, but there's a lot to do within Viterbi, but USC is such a larger place as well. And we want you to be able to take advantage of the entire university. So whether that's just taking a film class if you wanted to, taking a dance class if you wanted to, taking a class in photography, or adding a minor, in any of those categories, you're able to do that too. So it's not like a program, like I said, that we offer. It's sort of the way that we describe our students who have interests outside of engineering as well. So
Yeah, and rereading this, compared to other universities, at some universities you may have some of these options, but I think what makes us unique is that we build our curriculum around that philosophy. And I think more so here than at any other engineering school, our students have more opportunities to engage in coursework outside of engineering than anywhere else. We build that in because that is a framework of a USC education, the opportunities to be interdisciplinary. And we agree in the engineering school, and we think it's important. It's probably more important to have an interdisciplinary background as an engineer than any other student at USC, because you want to engage in all of those different areas. And what also makes us unique in that USC has more academic programs than any other university in the world. So that means the opportunities as an engineering student to also take music classes, cinema classes, business classes, philosophy classes, political science, theater, public management, public policy, gerontology, neuroscience. I don't know of another university that has all of those types of opportunities in one spot, and that engineers can also do as part of their curriculum if they wish to do so. So that just its breadth and its depth inside of those interdisciplinary options and the opportunity that we've built it into our curriculum. Rahul is asking, do you guys value community service a lot? I value it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we value community service just as much as we value clubs and band and dance and first robotics and everything. So like, if you're asking this in the context of the application and, you know,
Oh,
how
he
much,
is. Oh, he
yeah,
is. You know, he is.
you know, how much weight we put on things or that kind of stuff. We value activities. We value that students are involved in things that they want to be involved in and that they're passionate about it. So it's not a matter of like what it is or where I do it, because students always ask if I do things at USC, is it more bonus points like to do a summer program versus somewhere else? We value that you're involved in things. And if you are passionate about community service, then make sure that you make that known on the application. And then that's going to reflect well and positively on the application.
Yeah, and I have a feeling this might come up later, so I'll just answer it now. We don't value one thing more than another is essentially what Angie's talking about. And what's important to me is that that is based on that strategy that we talked about earlier, which you shouldn't be strategizing based on like, what are they looking for? And so it is fairly common that I will find applications that have overinflated community service in their application when it obviously isn't something that the student is passionate about, because they did it because they thought that's what we were looking for. As a result of that, that application has lost authenticity in my mind. It has lost credibility in my mind. And I really quickly become disinterested in that applicant as a result of not being honest with us. If Rahul, if you or anyone else is not doing a lot of community service, you're fine. Tell us what you are doing. What Angie said is we value you doing something. Something is way better than doing nothing. And that something can be lots of different things. Maybe you got a part-time job. Maybe you're involved in faith-based activities. Maybe you're involved in athletics, music, theater performances. I don't know what it is, but I hope you're doing something. And we want to know what that is. We want to know why that's interesting to you and how much time you spend on it. And not one thing has more value than something else. And that includes STEM-based activities. Oftentimes people say like, oh, so if I have more STEM-based activities, I have a better chance of admission, right? No, you don't. That doesn't make you more attractive to us necessarily, because there's a lot of students that maybe didn't have that opportunity to do so, or have recently discovered their interest in STEM or engineering opportunities in college, and maybe they didn't get involved in it earlier. That's fine. These things happen over time. So you don't have more, none of you have a better or worse chance of admission based on activities that you've done over time. Keep in mind, you know, and I'll address a number of you right now. A lot of you are really into band, because there is a math music connection with you. And sometimes people wonder like, oh, I couldn't get into this one thing and this one class or that one STEM activity because I've been involved in band, and that involves a 0 period and after period and weekend, stuff like that. I'm like, I get it. Cool. Then tell us what you've done. And lots of our applicants are in band, and that's awesome. Just like all these other things are awesome as well. Okay. Kamaya, what are common traits of the strongest personal statements you've read? What are common traits of the strongest personal statements? I'll expand this. What are common traits of the strongest applications you've read? Because personal statements is just one part of it, but it's not, that's again, we're not valuing one part of the application over the other. Are there common traits of the strongest person? Let me rephrase it for you guys.
I mean, I hate to be a broken record / take the easy way out, but we've said this a couple times now, and it's like the common traits of the strongest applicants are not ingenuity, like genuine people who are genuine, like people who are authenticity. And when you try to like make up something just to impress us, it comes across again as the opposite of what you might intend to do. So
It rarely
here's-
works.
yeah. The common trait is people who are genuine and who just tell us their story and tell us their activities as they are, and we get to really know who they are.
That's what I was going to say too, is that like, by the time I'm done reading the application, if I feel like I know the student really well, that usually means it's a really good application, because they've spent that time, being themselves. I will say a lot of times it's a lot easier for me to remember the applications that were not so great as opposed to the really great ones, because the not so great ones make for they stick out a lot more, I think, in those ways. But I think that the strong applicants are usually when I feel like, yes, I know this student at the end.
I agree wholeheartedly with all of this. And in the years I've been doing this, yes, I always remember the bad ones, because they just go in a weird way. And I think that the one common trait is that it's well written. And I think that's the one thing we haven't touched on yet, which is, but it's embedded into what both Stacey and Angie have said, in addition to being genuine and authentic, is that we understand it. And oftentimes you can find if we're reading an application, and if I have to stop and like reread it, I'm getting confused. I don't know where it's going. And oftentimes there's a correlation between unclear writing with an attempt to be creative or interesting. And I think that comes from this weird set of advice that some people give that we don't, which is you got to stand out. Please, no, that you don't need to stand out. Like, you need to tell your story. I want you all to remember that you are all each unique individual human beings that have had their own unique pathway to get up to this point. You've all had your own unique challenges. You've all overcome some of them. Maybe you're still dealing with some of them. You all have your own unique accomplishments that are unique to you. And you have your own story that got you to this point. That's what the application is asking you through all of these different questions. What do you do? Why do you do it? How do you do it? And what's gone on? Tell us what's going on. We don't know you unless you tell us the information in there. Don't assume we know anything. Explain it to us. Help us understand it. And don't assume that you're trying to mold your application into something that we are looking for, because that will just, they'll lose the authentic voice, they'll lose the genuine nature of it, and it won't actually tell your story. So please let us know that information. So I hope that helps. And to quote Angie, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but these are the answers to these questions. Friendly reminder to go and ask more questions and to upvote, because I think we're getting stagnant on those votes and they're all coming about the same. So if you want anything to get to the top, scroll down, find those questions, bump them up to the top, ask new questions that haven't been asked yet so far, things that you want to know about the school, about the program, about the application process. Jump in there and get those questions in. We got about 25 minutes left of answering questions. We've answered 15 so far, so I'm going to hope we're going to try to get at least 10 more in. Katie Ann, what are some common mistakes or red flags you see in applications? I think we've talked about this, but just to clarify, not writing well, overinflating things, trying to craft a narrative that you think we're looking for, and doing poorly in classes. That's a red flag. Doing poorly is, A's and B's is what we're looking for. So those are red flags of things that we would have concern about in coursework. But common mistakes are things like that. Make sure that it's clear and give it to someone to read before you submit it to us, and like, does this make sense? Does this work? And if you're making jokes in your application, make sure someone who knows you, who doesn't know you, reads it and finds it funny. Because oftentimes if you have it, like your best friend read it, you're like, oh, that's totally you. Maybe they get your sense of humor. To us, it may come across really weird and freaky. So you don't, and that has happened a lot where we get an application, we're like, I think that was a joke, but it's kind of scary. So don't do that. Katie, is a double question for Katie. Would you say Viterbi is more collaborative or more competitive? Are tests often curved?
Yeah, so Viterbi definitely has a collaborative environment. It's actually one of the pillars that we found our program on to help us achieve this mission. So we're collaborative, we focus on teamwork. We want you guys to work together. In your engineering academy course, you're going to be collaborating with students from from other disciplines within Viterbi. And we're really trying to foster some of those skills so that you guys can be a contributing member in a team environment. And as far as I'm aware of, we don't grade on a curve. You get your own grades, whatever work you put in, that's what you're being graded for.
Yeah, there is no set curve to any of the coursework. You're not fighting for a set number of A's or set number of B's. We want every student to be competitive. If there ever is any curving inside of classes, it's to help the class. It's to raise everybody up to it. And so that can happen often, but it's not an idea of curving for a sense of a set equal curve. That's ridiculous. We don't do that. And that also, those types of things happen in other courses at other universities, which can create that competitive nature. This place is 100% collaborative. We want you to work together. Faculty want you to work together and succeed together. Michael is asking, I'm a regular decision applicant. Can I still get a scholarship? And if so, how? Highly unlikely, Michael, to receive scholarships, unfortunately. Our merit-based scholarships at the university are a process that is reviewed for early action candidates. And so in order to be considered for merit-based scholarships, you would have had to apply by the November 1st deadline. And applied as an early action candidate for those top merit-based scholarships. And the merit-based scholarships in the university are full tuition trustee scholarship, half tuition presidential, and some other scholarships, quarter tuition, and other ones down below. Now, there's always a possibility that some other scholarships might come into play for other candidates, but it is highly unlikely. So I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, and they would never be at that high of a value number because all of those larger scholarships are given out in the timeline that is earlier. For example, we're working on those right now with candidates that applied early action. Regular decision candidates, we haven't even started reviewing yet. We were going through all the early action candidates, deciding who might be a scholarship finalist, and we'll be doing that in a couple of weeks, actually. So we're already well into that, knee deep into that process. Isadora Bocas, Isadora, do a lot of Viterbi students study abroad? And if so, is there a year that students often do so, like sophomore or junior year?
Yeah, a lot of students study abroad. I don't think we really keep track of how many, so we can't, there's not a number we could give you a percentage, but it's a healthy amount every semester. Is there a year that students often do it? Probably most likely sophomore and junior year for most students, and some students opt to do summers abroad because they don't lose out on being here during the regular school year. But there are many opportunities for study abroad in many different locations, depending on the major or what country you might want to visit. This is always a good conversation to have with your advisor. If you're admitted to USC, you can absolutely work in a study abroad program within your 4 years here.
If you want to study abroad, we want you to study abroad. We think it's an important element, and there are lots of different programs. As a matter of fact, we're working on developing new programs that will be launching in 2023 at a number of different universities across the country, both semester programs and summer programs. It is a priority to us that students study abroad. The hard part is that coming out of the pandemic over the last couple of years, our current student body didn't have that same list of opportunities because all study abroad programs are shut down. The good news for you all is that that shutdown allowed us to actually reset a number of our programs, develop new ones, and give new opportunities for more students to study abroad, which we're excited to be launching. King coming back with a question. If I become a student at Viterbi, will I be living in a dorm with only other Viterbi students, or do USC's interdisciplinary values cross over into the residential system? It's like the finest worded question I've ever heard. Stacey?
No, we don't have engineering dorms. If that's the the question, the way you worded it was so nice, but the very short answer is no, we don't have engineering dorms. And we do that on purpose. We do want to make sure that you are meeting different types of students, and that you have access to, again, kind of more of campus and seeing different types of people, not just all engineering all the time. Of course, if you want all engineering all the time, that is possible to do, but we really encourage our students to meet different types of people. We purposefully do not put you in an all engineering dorm in your first year. If you go into your second year and you get to pick who you want to live with and it turns out to be engineers, great, we would never stop you from doing that. But in that first year, we say please meet other people and see what other opportunities are around the university.
Yeah, you go to class all day with engineers. Well, I live with them too, get to know some other people out there, and building that community across campus is, I think, one of the biggest important things that you do in your first year. And How exciting could it be to have like a business major roommate, a cinema major best friend, down the hall, and a music major roommate down the other hall, and you get to know these people and build that community across disciplines. That's a big part of it. So yeah, great question. Thank you. Mauricio is saying, I always seem to find life-changing opportunities when they're over. Oh, I always seem to find life-changing opportunities when they're over. May I please have a list of departments that I can rush to on the first day to get my scoop on all of the campus happenings and opportunities?
We'll do that for you. No, I'm just kidding. So I mean, we don't have a list, so I can't promise you to email you something, but Mauricio, typically like on the week before classes start, or even the first week of classes, there's going to be a lot of what we call activity fairs happening all over campus. So
Welcome week.
Thank you. Welcome week is going to have like student activity fairs where clubs and organizations and teams, they're going to be tabling. So we're going to put in a lot of stuff for you to do that first week or even that first semester. So you'll have like a singular place or multiple little locations where you can know what's happening, so you don't miss out on things.
Yeah, you don't need a list of departments because we bring them all to you. So when you arrive, Welcome Week is about doing exactly what you want to do by bringing everything to you, getting to know faculty from different departments, getting to know students from different areas, getting to know different clubs and organizations. The hard part is that even when that happens, you're not going to know everything. So the real question is, if you are admitted, down to this point, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but if you are admitted or whatever school you go to, start thinking about the things that you want to accomplish. My best advice to you is read your emails. I can't tell you how many times offices and departments and student organizations are emailing out students and announcing things. We actually have an app. It's called, is it Experience SC, or what's it called now? Experience SC? Yeah, there's an app that our students use where all the news announcements and the clubs and the meetings and the calendar, they're all there. And once you get admitted, you'll have access to this and you can jump in and know exactly what's happening, add them to your calendar. You can subscribe to different feeds. It's its own private individual network and opportunities where you can see what's happening. But read it, understand what's happening, find out what's for you. And oftentimes things that you thought you might want to do, maybe you don't want to do. And finding your fit and your niche and your time on campus will take time. So as long as you're engaged, which it sounds like you are, it sounds like you're excited, you're going to do fine. So I appreciate the question. Thanks, Mauricio. August, coming back up with another question. Is August our winner so far? Is that 3 from August? Or is that, do we know?
No.
I'm not keeping score. You guys can score. Okay. August, so similar to a previous question, if I apply to a major in a different college, but later decide that I would rather switch to Viterbi, how difficult is that? Think of near impossible. I want to make sure I'm setting that standard as much as I can, August. If someone is at USC and wants to become an engineering student, they would need to go through our pre-engineering process where the competitive applicant pool is highly impacted. Well, it's not impacted internally. Once we've enrolled our entire class, when someone wants to join the engineering school, it's only when we have an opening. So I don't want anybody to make that plan. And so if you're thinking at all about engineering, you need to list one of the engineering Viterbi school majors as your first choice major. If you put something else thinking, quote unquote, this might be easier to get in, you are doing yourself harm. And that will not be good for you, because if you are going to go through a pre-engineering process, that will take at least a year to do with no opportunities or guarantees to be admitted. As a matter of fact, the chances are really slim, but it will be dependent on the major and the term in which you're actually entering, all of which are future, which I don't know. So I want to manage those expectations and let you know that it is a slim chance to none that the opportunities of people to transfer into engineering later on, because our program would be full. Once we enroll our classes, we're full. And a lot of more people want to join engineering than we have space for. So that's it, August. I'm sorry about that. Apply to engineering, start in engineering. You're with us. Then we're gonna take care of you that way. King, are research topics determined by professors' ongoing research, specific fields of interest given to students as guidelines, or can a bunch of students come together and do research on anything?
Most research topics are already kind of preset for students just to join them. So Lisa earlier mentioned CURV, the Center for Undergraduate Research. And so like that's a fellowship type of program where you can look through existing projects and apply to participate in one. You can also reach out to professors, many of whom have their labs or their research projects. I don't want to speak on something I don't know, but I think there are opportunities for students to get funding to do unique research opportunities, but most students just do what jump in on a project that already exists, because there's already so much research happening at USC that there's so many unique projects to jump in on.
Right. Typically, when a student tells me this, I ask, what are they interested in? I'm like, oh, cool. That's what that faculty member is doing. Go talk to them. It's not impossible, but likely the things you want to do are already happening. And the definition of research is that it is faculty-led research. Each research project is funded. It has a principal investigator. That principal investigator is a faculty member, and they want to get undergrads involved as long as they have room. And so you seek out who may have room, what's going on, whether that's through Curve or whether that's through volunteering and getting to know your faculty, get engaged and learn to find out. Over time, students leading their own sections of that project or their own idea sometimes are given their own space to do so once they know what they're actually doing. And it's, I hate to say it, but fairly uncommon that you'll know what you're doing as an incoming first-year student. And as you come in, you start to take more classes and you partner up with faculty and graduate students and get mentored. It could be that you have an idea and that faculty member says, you know what, great, you go do that part, and then we'll fund you to do those things. So a little bit of yes and no on all of these questions, but research is something that you might want to get into when you're here. And the first step is talking to faculty to first understand what it is and whether that's something you'd want to do. Davis, for the computer science business administration major, is it a double major? If not, what percentage is business and what percentage is CS? Is the best major to pursue if I'm interested in entrepreneurship startups? Okay, so lots of questions here, Davis. Let's unpack this. You got to find out first whether you want a business degree or whether a computer science degree. Ask yourself that question. Because if you want a business degree, go get a business degree. If you want a computer science degree, we have that here. One of our computer science degrees has business coursework into it. I would probably say it's about 65 to 35% business, but that's a rough math on my head. You can go look at the curriculum yourself. When you go to viterbiadmission.usc.edu/CS, you can see all of the different computer science curricula, and then you can see exactly how computer science business works out. It is not a double major. It is a hybrid degree program. It's a single degree called computer science business administration. It's essentially a computer science degree with a few courses shaved off, and we fit in most of the core undergraduate business courses into that because so many students wanted to combine that. Is that the best major to pursue if I'm interested in entrepreneurships or startups? Not necessarily, because what if you're trying to create a startup around something related to mechanical engineering? I would say mechanical engineering would be your best degree for an entrepreneurship startups. There's no such thing as a degree in a best degree to be an entrepreneur. The real question you should ask yourself is, you want to be an entrepreneur, what is going to be your product? What is going to be your company? If you don't know that, then what are the types of problems that you want to solve? If you don't know that, what is the type of arena you want to be working in to solve those problems? Then that can lead you down the pathway of finding out which of the undergraduate degree programs is appropriate for you. My recommendation to you is don't go about this backwards, right? Because there is no single best pathway to become an entrepreneur. There is no single best pathway to become a startup. I will say that the most overwhelming evidence is it's one of the engineering degrees, meaning any one of the engineering degrees. But oftentimes it's going to be in an area that you feel comfortable in, that you like, and that you're innovating inside of. You're not just going to pick that randomly. And so if you love programming and coding, cool, let's go down the computer science element. But if you like planes, if you like things that move, if you're interested in that type of physical environment, then let's look at aerospace or mechanical. If you like things related to power sources, look at electrical. If you like things related to health and human body, biomedical engineering. And I can think of a number of students involved in entrepreneurship and startups across each of these different areas, and so much more that I didn't mention. There isn't a discipline in engineering that doesn't do startups or entrepreneurship. The question is the arena, the problems that they're solving. So think of it from that perspective. All right. Business majors aren't entrepreneurs. They assist in businesses down the road, but the key to any entrepreneurship is the technology at its core, or the innovation at its core. And technology and innovation comes from engineering, just a question of which one it is. Now, granted, I'm the engineering guy, right? I'm biased, but you should go, as I started in the beginning, do you want a business degree? Do you want an engineering degree? Do you want a computer science degree? Those are the questions you should be asking, because when you get the right degree program for you that matches you want to be an entrepreneur or have some sort of startup, you'll take it there. And that's exactly the best way to do it. And oftentimes students don't study entrepreneurship or startups. They get involved in it with a really, really robust startup and entrepreneurship student community, like our Lava Lab, which is a student-run incubator, our Startup Garage. They get involved in our entrepreneurship competitions, the Massey competition or the Min Family Challenge and social entrepreneurship. These are all support programs that we have for students seeking to get involved in the entrepreneurship space and to start building out startups. They're all here. So that's a long answer. Sorry, Dave's. Yael is asking, are there any unique words that are helpful when completing the writing questions for USC Viterbi? Any unique words? Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, that's probably one.
No, this isn't, no, not really. Just be authentic, just be yourself. We've said it a few times now. You don't have to use keywords. I think that's kind of
If you can work in unicorn hot dog into your essay, that's a guaranteed admit right there. Unicorn hot dog, one phrase, and it has to make sense.
Unicorn hot dog, it sounds like a cool band name as well.
It's also probably because I'm hungry right now. Yeah, no keywords, there's nothing there, but we go back to authenticity all the time. All right, Minjun Kim is asking, how does double majoring or minoring work? And can I take non-Viterbi majors or minors?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. That yes, you can do that. Sort of the longer answer can be a little bit more of how you want to add it into your schedule. I would say more often than not, I see Viterbi students who have minors outside of engineering because it fits very nicely into their four-year curriculum. Double majoring does happen. I sometimes see those students sometimes taking longer than 4 years to graduate because adding a whole other degree on top of their engineering degree makes them stay longer than 4 years. So it just kind of depends on you and what you pick in your curriculum. But like I said, too, the most common that I see are engineering students with minors outside of engineering. That's very, very common for students. I can think of like a bunch of them just right off the top of my head as well. Photography minors, innovation minors, all of these different things that our students do. So lots of ways to combine.
Going into our final 6 or 7 minutes here, this is your last opportunity to upvote questions. So dig down in there. There are some questions down there that are good that have not been asked yet, and you all should go grab them and throw them up here. I was just scanning some of them. So please go down there, grab questions that you find interesting and upvote them as you see fit. We will continue to go from the top down of the most upvoted questions to make it fair. You are controlling our conversation today. And as we do that, Kevin Palumbo jumps to the top. Kevin, the application, asks me to describe my plan to pursue my academic interests and why I want to explore them at USC specifically. How should I answer that?
answer the question. Yeah.
Answer it.
There's no specific way to answer it. There's no like little formula that says you have to say this and this to get that answer.
I think now I'm understanding. Kevin, it's asking, what do you want to major in and why? That's what that question is asking. What's your plan for your academic interests? What do you want to major in? Or if you have other ideas of major minors, if that's the case, that's why it's not saying what do you want your major in, but what do you want to study and why do you want to study them at USC? That's the question. I don't know how to tell you how to answer that other than you tell us. Hopefully that helps clarify that a little bit more. Isadora back again. If I sign up for a specific major within engineering, but I'm wavering between two, will I be able to take classes for both in order to determine if I want to switch majors? No. You'd be here for a long time. That would be a waste of your time. If you're debating between two, one of them is definitely higher than the other. Put that as your first choice major. When you come to orientation, if you're admitted, we'll ask you, okay, is this what you want to do? And maybe you'll flip it. And if you want to switch it, you switch it at that point. But you're going to start in the one that sounds the coolest to you. You're going to take that introductory course. You're also going to likely take our freshman academy class. It's going to give you a sense of the introduction. You're going to find out whether it's right for you or not. If it's right for you, you keep going. If it's not, you're going to take the other one the next semester and you'll still be on track to graduate on time. So don't worry about it. You don't need to be doing multiple classes at the same time. Most of our introductory courses count for the same credit towards every one of our degree programs. So we're good to go there. Okay, you have a question. Good, that's what we're here for. If I were to apply for a major that is not USC Viterbi, I'm assuming that's Viterbi, will I be able to work with a research opportunity at Viterbi? Can't tell you yes or no on that one. Typically, engineering research, Viterbi research is done with USC Viterbi students, so that's highly unlikely. It's possible, but I doubt it. It's possible. Should we elaborate on these short questions, such as why we want said roommate, or just list the name? You do not need to elaborate unless you feel the need that it's like unless it's like such a weird or like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. You don't need to, unless you're giving us something that would weird us out and like, no, hear me out. Like that's what you want to do. That's fine, but you do not need to elaborate. You don't need to give us why. You can just tell us. Michael, back again. Do the short answer questions affect who I live with in the dorms? Yes, it's a secret algorithm that we place you in, and only the people with the same food items, or sometimes we like to put people together. If someone likes chocolate and the other person likes peanut butter, we figure that's a good combo. No, for those I'm joking, because you guys are like, yep, that's how it works.
No, we were shaking our heads.
Oh, were you? I'm sorry. I see, when I look at you all, I just see nodding. I'm assuming that's the natural element.
We were all like,
Not true. Not true. It's always shaking. Follow-up question to Michael's. As an international student who most likely needs financial aid to attend USC in the first place, is it worth submitting an application to USC if it's not like I get enough education? P.S. I really want to go here. It's past midnight where I am right now. Cool. Hey, thanks for staying up, buddy. I appreciate that. Need-based financial aid, international students are not eligible for. And so you're welcome to apply. It is up to you, but international students must prove the ability to pay through financial statements. If you haven't checked that out, you do need to do that. You cannot be admitted until you're able to prove ability to pay. International students must do that. So this is all federal law. This is not a USC thing. Is there anything to do with solar in the engineering school? Wesley's, I'm going to go through these fast. If you guys want to jump in and grab it. Solar is absolutely photovoltaics and energy sources, or there's a lot of stuff being done in the chemical engineering department because the idea is making the materials of photovoltaics and solar engineering, but also in electrical engineering because it is a power source. So depending on whether you want to look at chemical engineering, electrical engineering, there's also a little bit done in environmental as well, but it's much more the applications of using solar and other types of energy kind of cycles, but likely chemical engineering, electrical engineering if you're interested in solar. And there are courses in solar energy and electrical. Yeah, Stacey.
And also different student organizations that are doing projects that use solar energy, which is really cool too. So
yeah, the solar car team. Very cool. How competitive is it to get research professors? I've never known a student who's wanted research that couldn't get it. So if you want to do research, you definitely can. Emmanuel, hi, I want to study data science at USC. Could you discuss more on that process, like studying at Dorsafe and then eventually studying data science at Viterbi? You cannot study data science at the Viterbi School of Engineering. It's not an undergraduate program. There is a program for Dorsafe students. The best way to describe this is that if you are not able to be in the engineering school, but you want something like data science, you can couple that into your Dorsafe degree program. That's the data science program. Data science in Viterbi is an accelerated master's degree program. If you're at all interested in data science as an undergraduate engineer, my recommendation is to start with computer science, study computer science. Tiffany, how difficult is it to get your classes? Not difficult at all. You get all the classes you need all the time. You will always get your classes that you need in order to graduate on time. You may not get first pick in your freshman year, like you want this one class versus that other class. Like you might need to take an 8 a.m. math class, but you'll still get all the classes you need in order to graduate on time. We manage our enrollment, so we know how to actually do this.
I thought Tiffany was asking how do you get to classes? Like, oh, I was going to say it's easy to walk from one end of
how difficult is it to get to classes? You had to do the two. You're like, it's pretty cool. I just walk from one building to the other. That's it.
Yeah.
Are engineering students allowed to use buildings or centers that are directly for their majors? Can a biomedical engineer student use the new CS when they want to work on computational medicine? P.S. Joel, I'm super competitive. All right, Fuang's coming in hot. Fuang is just shots fired by Fuang here. Fuang, here's the deal. That new computer science building behind us, they will body scan you, and only if you're a computer science student are you allowed into that. No, these aren't ownership. These aren't silos. Students walk to buildings all the time. There's going to be study spaces in there. You're going to want to hang out. There's going to be a cool courtyard. You're going to be wanting to hang out in there, and also you're going to want to go to these other areas. It's not like this is a domain that you're into. These are all engineering buildings. These are for everybody. I'm assuming, are there workstations for engineering students to build their own passion projects, 3D printers, or like welding? I'm assuming welding stations. Lisa?
Makers. Oh,
yes, from Makerspace. It's a part of our new expansion. We have 3D printers there. We have 2 actually. So you can go in there, do your CAD programming, bring some of your creations to life.
Yeah, there are a few more with the 3D printing organization, but you told me today a fun fact that I didn't know about one of the 3D, the Stratasys one.
Yeah, so one of the students actually let us know that amongst all West Coast universities, we have the largest 3D printer on the West Coast.
Largest 3D printer on the West Coast in the West Coast universities. And this thing can print, I think it's 3 by 3 by 3, if I remember correctly.
Around there.
Yeah, 3-foot cubes. So that's pretty huge. All right, we'll do, you all pick. Tell me who's, they're all tied. Who are we answering? What's our last question? I'm not going to get in trouble here.
They're actually the next 2, besides King Solomon's comment. But the next 2 are the same. So
I didn't even see King.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
Tiffany's and Adit's are kind of the same question. I mean, that could be our last question, honestly. Yeah. So, and this is a great way to end because the only space that you have is whatever's on the Common App. You can have space for links, but to be honest, we receive so many applications for
I don't know if I'm frozen or if Angie's frozen.
Missions. We're not gonna have time to read a resume. We're not gonna have time to look at another video or another link. So whatever it is that you want us to know about you, use the essay, use the short answers to write about those things. Use the activity section. If you want to share about your personal projects, then share about them in the writing. If you have a video about a personal project, maybe write about it instead, because to be quite honest, we won't have time to look at those. So just take advantage of the space that exists on the application to talk about what you want us to know. And Paul, it was you who was frozen. You just now.
I figured.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you all were frozen, and I was like, I think it's me. So I hope that everybody saw that and heard that. If not, it should be on the recording. So, All right, that was a lot of fun. I'm really excited that so many of you were able to join us tonight and ask some really great questions. I hope you had as much fun as we did. Sorry, it's a little loopy. This is what happens when you do Friday night events. You get us at the end of the day, and we're a little punchy. Do we have a winner? Is Fong a winner? What does he win, Angie?
Admission. Woo! I'm kidding.
Big prize.
Yeah, it's a big prize. I was like, I don't know, like maybe like a button or something, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Well, hey, you're all winners in my book. And so thank you so much for attending this session. If you missed any part of it, you could check out the recording. We'll follow up with you on that. It'll be on our YouTube page, hopefully within the hour here. And if you have any other questions, you can always reach out via email. But honestly, I think we got through almost all of them. I'm looking through these questions. They're all pretty similar. Relax, be yourself, get the application in by January 15th. Letters of recommendations, transcript, those things can come afterwards. So just make sure you're submitting the Common App, which is the full Common App, the USC questions, by January 15th by the deadline. Don't wait till the last minute. Okay, just get it in so that it's all there. And then you can add stuff in via your portal. After you apply, you'll get a link to your portal. You can add additional information in there if you need to. And like I said, letters of recommendation, transcripts can come shortly after, but not too far after. We have to start reading this stuff. So get it in. Once you apply, you won't be hearing from us for a little while. We will be getting out all admission decisions by the beginning of April. Typically the last week of March is when we shoot for, but no later than April 1st. And so just sit tight. And once you've applied, do watch your email address that you listed on the application, because if USC ever needs anything else from you, then we will be emailing you to ask for it. And it's in your best interest to turn that information around as quickly as possible. Otherwise, we'll need to move on without it. So once again, on behalf of all of our staff here at the Viterbi School in the Office of Admission, and also all of the staff and faculty at the school, we appreciate you being here and your continued interest in the school. We had a lot of fun. We look forward to reading your applications very, very soon. Thank you, everybody. Fight on.
Bye.